Good evening. Welcome to the Pryor Creek Recreational Center Board meeting. Looks like we have a quorum, so we'll call the meeting to order. Item number two, approve minutes of the February 1st, 2021 regular meeting. Those should be provided in front of for you. I'm going to turn my phone off before it goes off.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the minutes as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Riff, second by Cantrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 3, petitions from the audience. See no petitions. Move to item number 4. Discuss and possible action regarding a recommendation to the City Council for approval from the bids received to purchase a new 16 mm LED sign in the amount of $37,451.25 from Premier Signs and Design, as in the best interest of the city to be paid from PCRC Capital Outlay Equipment account number 848455410. Other bids received: Image Builders, $31,681.00, and MX Sign Company, $43,250.00.
Okay, so if you'll recall, I think everybody was here for the last meeting. This came before you guys for the last meeting, and we voted to table it so that you could do a little more research and gather a little bit more information. So I wanted to just point out a couple of things that are different from last meeting to this meeting. One is that you'll see the bid for Image Builders has been updated to exclude the possible tax that was in question last month. So that $31,681 is the final price for Image Builders. The other change there is they decided, in an attempt to get our business to extend the 5-year warranty to 7 years free of charge. So that is the change. A couple changes there. I wanted to also, I know I sent this in an email, I want to make sure everyone understood some of the points that Justin at Premier Sign brought up as far as to describe the difference in the bids. He said one thing he would like for us to consider is quality, ability to service, and overall durability. And he listed a lot of over a dozen units in our area that have watch fire that we can look at and see the long-lasting quality product. He said they have served well over their 10-year life expectancy, which provides assurance that the investment in these units comes with great peace of mind. And he did say it's worth noting that 2 area sign companies like AMAX and Premier Sign stand firmly behind providing watch fire products when it's honestly easier to sell a lesser product at a cheaper price. Could we make more sales with a cheaper, inferior product? Yes. The issue, as I see it, is serving the customer and providing value and peace of mind with a product that has a proven track record of quality and durability. And also the other thing to note is that if you take away the $4,000 trade-in value that we're getting from the old sign that we have now, there's actually a $10,000 difference in the Premier Sign and the Optech cheaper quote. So as a buyer, he says that would make me question the value and quality, not of the higher quote, but of the cheaper one. So just some things that he wanted to make sure that we considered in making this decision tonight. So do you all have any questions after?
And they're going to remove the old sign.
Yes, they'll remove it and take it away and then replace it with the new sign.
So I spoke with Rebecca this morning. Obviously, she couldn't make it tonight, and she was one of the ones that had some concerns and wanted us to do our due diligence a little bit more. I did speak with her this morning, and she's 100% okay with the information that you said to her. She did her own due diligence and was in support of taking and keeping our business local and dealing with Premier. So I want to get that out there for the rest of the group because she's not here tonight, but I did speak with her this morning regarding that. So having said that, I'll allow any of the other members to comment.
I'm good with it.
I think my deal right now is probably more of a question of dollars and cents. I think from the discussions we've had on one of the other topics being a new roof for the building, I don't know if I see this as a necessity right now. Speaking for myself.
Sure, absolutely. Okay. Do you have any other questions? I mean, any comments or questions about that other than just?
And I think we're gonna find about the roof in a minute, right?
Yes, we are, yes.
We can,
So we can talk about it, and it was something, if you'll recall, when we talked about it, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, we did decide as a board that we did feel like it was necessary, because that sign is such a vital part of our marketing and getting our information out to people. And so that's why we pursued it. I didn't know it was gonna be that expensive, but knew it was gonna be a good chunk of change, but, we had decided that we felt like it was necessary in our marketing attempts.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could comment
Sure.
regarding Mr. Riff's concern. A $30,000 expenditure when we're talking about some of the things we need to do with that roof is fairly insignificant when it comes to the expense, the potential expense of the roof. And from the perspective of communication, from the perspective of marketing, from the perspective of putting our best foot forward for the citizens, it seems that the sign is something that we probably need. So if we compare that to the expense of the roof, it's probably fairly insignificant.
No doubt there. I think there's lots of money to be spent on things that are necessary, and I see this more as a want than a need. I don't know from a marketing standpoint that if we spend this $37,000 that all of a sudden it's increased our business there.
Yeah, will we get?
Could be wrong.
Will we get $37,000 business because of the sign
Exactly.
over a 10-year period? Who knows?
Who knows?
My question is in relationship to item 6, I believe, as far as the roof goes. And I wasn't here last meeting, but all I can see is that.
Let's, are we discussing item 6, or do we need to
No.
wait until we get there?
Well, that has a relationship in what I'm
Okay,
referring to.
okay, good.
Because it's hard to make a decision on, let's say, $37,000 when you don't know how much that roof's gonna cost. And then I'd like to know exactly what we have in our fund balance and how that's gonna be taken care of. I hear that it's over $1 million for the roof.
We're not sure.
Well, see, that's a thing that worries me some. I think the sign is fine, but I hate to spend money before I find out what a significant expenditure would be.
and we could push this to the bottom, couldn't we, until we hear about the roof and stuff here in a second?
And we're not gonna hear numbers on the roof tonight. We've had someone go up there and we've had someone assess it, so we're not gonna hear numbers tonight, as far as I know. It's just gonna kind of be, just an update on the condition of the roof right now. So I don't know going forward that we'll be able to take care of the roof out of the money that we have. I don't know. That's something that we're gonna have to decide how to go forward, how to get the money to
Exactly.
do the things that we need to do. So that's all still in question.
So, all right, here's my comment. And I understand where you two are coming from. You're coming from the point that when we sat and had the meeting the first time, we talked about the necessity for the sign, that we approved her to move forward to go get the bids to get this sign. So that's done. And now, and then when we've taken an additional month to do our due diligence to decide which one of these bids we want. And now we know that the roof has had issues, and those have been brought to light more apparently after the recent storm. So we certainly know. And to answer your question about the fund balance, that roof's not gonna be replaced out of our fund balance. We've gotta do something different there. We can't liquidate our fund balance to replace that roof.
See, that's my worry.
Right. So there's gonna have to be other things involved, whether it be a bond or whether it be, whatever the case may be, we've gotta pull our heads together to make that happen, so.
There's also a consideration of where the money comes from to pay for the sign. There's already a budget that includes the amount of money, that you have an amount of money that is budgeted for capital outlay within the rec center, and that's where the money would come to pay for the sign. So the money would not come to pay for the sign from reserves. It comes from a budget. So the next question is, can be, well, if we pay for that, we're in the hole in revenues compared to expenses this year. We knew we were going to be in the hole this year, revenue compared to expenses. And so that's something that we planned on. When we did the budget, we identified, last year, we identified needs, and when I give the budget or the financial presentation in a little while, that'll maybe make a little more sense.
So can we
But
move this
if-
agenda
but
item down?
If we compare this expense to the expense of a roof, that we don't know what it's gonna cost, and we also don't know how we're gonna fund it. I'm not sure we're going, I respect the comments, I do respect the comments, but I'm not sure that we're comparing apples to apples there. Because the need, we have a sign there. We can let that sign stand there, and we can let it fall down one of these days and not do anything with it. And we haven't spent any money. We have to spend money on a roof to maintain the building. But we've got a budget. The budget is in real good shape this year, and y'all have done a good job, and her crew have done a good job in keeping expenses under control. And even if we spend the $37,000 out of the budget, we're still within the guidelines of the budget. And we also still have significant reserves. So I don't think there should be fear about spending $37,000 on a sign if y'all deem that we need the sign. So
you're saying that the money for the roof will come from some other means?
no, I'm saying that we don't know how much money we're gonna need for the roof.
Right.
We know that we have significant reserves in the rec center. But we also know that we have significant reserves in the general fund. And, excuse me, so, so I look at the numbers every day, and I don't want to downplay your concern about the rec center, about the amount of money that's in reserves. But if you all deem that we need a sign, we have the ability to purchase the sign. We have the ability to purchase the sign and not worry about where we're gonna come up with money to replace a roof. So I want to comfort you with that.
So can we move this item down and hear the other items of concern?
Mr. Chairman, you have that prerogative. Yes, sir.
Do we need to make a motion to do that, or can we?
Need to make a motion to delay this action until after you discussed whatever is down.
Well, I would do the same thing with 5, because it's gonna be the same
Okay.
situation with number 5 as well.
Well, can we just make a motion to move to item number 6 to discuss the roof and then go back in order?
You have the prerogative to do that.
And we need a
Does-
motion
does
to
not-
do
Does
that.
not require a motion. You
Does
have-
not, okay, so as
you have the
chairman,
prerogative.
I would like to, we'll move to item number 6, and then we'll revisit item number 4 and number 5 after we have this discussion. So item number 6, discussion regarding the current condition of the PCRC roof, using information from recent roof assessments and possible options for repair replacement of the roof.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm Steve Powell, for those of you members that don't know me or haven't spoke before you before. I am the city engineer and was asked by the mayor to take a look at the roof. Since that's not my wheelhouse, I employed a company that is doing work for the city of Pryor, whose owner of that company is also someone who has Pryor ties. And I asked them to take a look at the roof of the rec center, which they did this last week, and I was briefed on Friday regarding the results of that investigation. As I'm sure you all are aware, about 6, 7 months ago, we had a full analysis done of the roof by a company who gave us basically 2 recommended means to address the problems with the roof. And they are simply a roofing company, so I want to start there, and then I'll talk about what we also found this week. One was a Band-Aid fix of the roof itself. The other one was basically a wholesale replacement of the roof surface areas. As you are probably aware, we have 4 distinct roof types on this building. And each one has its own problems, its own inherent issues, and there's not one system that you can go in and say, I'm going to blanket the whole four types of roofs and cover the problem. The problem appears to be, generally speaking, at the interfaces between these different type roofs. And the Garland report that was submitted some months ago basically outlined numerous repairs that have been done over the years and numerous problems with the underlayment system of the roof itself, which promoted these various kinds of leaks because the roofs don't intersect at 90-degree angles. They sometimes intersect at odd angles, and as a result of that, we've got different types of materials. You've got built-up roofing, you've got metal roofing, you've got different kinds of flashing, and all of these materials expand and contract at different amounts. And as a result, cracks open up and cracks shrink and various things happen with different kinds of metals. The new aspect of what was found last week and was pointed out that we're looking at right now is that a lot of the leaks that were exposed during our recent snowstorm, we had I believe the number was 18 identified. 81 leaks. I'm a little behind. Basically, a lot of those leaks were exposed because we had a large amount of snow built up on the roof. We had ice underneath it, and a lot of the leaks were exposed because that didn't normally leak because during a typical rainstorm event, there's no water that builds up to that level. But in the snow and the ice and the different layers, all of a sudden the water level is not down here on the roof. It's up here 6, 8, 10 inches away. So a leak that's up there may not necessarily, or a crack that's up there may not necessarily be actively leaking during a regular rainstorm. But those were all exposed during the most recent ice storm and snowstorms that we had. And that's why we had such a multitude of leaks that went beyond that. The other item we identified was a humidity problem. The facility itself, one of its biggest assets is the indoor pool. The indoor pool is a very humid atmosphere. All of the return air ducts are combined. We've got large areas above the locker facilities. We've got large areas above the entrance area that are above the suspended ceiling. Those areas are subject to different atmospheric issues than what we have in the controlled AC areas that are more at floor level. What was observed last week by All Wine Roofing was a lot of condensation that was occurring on the return air ducts and on the AC units above those areas that were dripping down. So I guess what I'm saying is that we're we're looking at right now what kind of units we have for dehumidification. What kind of units does the system currently employ to try to stabilize that air and remove moisture out of it that is so abundant because of the indoor swimming pool area? I'm not saying that we don't have leaks in the roof. I'm saying we do have leaks in the roof. But what I'm also telling you is that to go in and to spend $700,000 repairing or replacing this roof is not going to correct all of the problems. We believe that we've got a humidity problem, a dehumidification problem, which is probably only going to be repaired or mitigated through some type of air exchange system that's going to have to be put into the system itself to eliminate all of the problems we're looking at. And frankly, it's not that we don't want to go in and replace the roof only, but the roof may be contributing to the major portions of the leakage problems. But it looks like we've got just an air exchange issue as well. So we've got large areas that are unheated or large areas that are not atmospherically controlled as well as others. So Jessica's correct, Mayor's correct. We're looking at a major expense for dealing with the air and the roofing problems, probably to the extent of looking for some other type of financing that's available. I can visit about some of the programs that are out there that we can try and approach about getting funding. I'm sure the mayor has other avenues, or this board has other avenues as well. To answer your question about where we might get those kind of fundings, those fundings that I'm familiar with are called rural development funds. They are community development funds that comes through agencies that are here in the state of Oklahoma. They're pretty low interest loans. Now, they're not as low as a pure government loan or a CDBG grant or anything like that, but they're somewhere right now a little less than 2%. And those loans are, in the overall scheme of things, they're pretty low. I mean, if you go to the bank, it's going to be probably about twice that, or maybe a little more than that for that type of secured loan. The thing about these rural development loans that they have is they don't take a mortgage on your building. They don't do that. What they do is they want to make sure that your revenues from that facility will cover the loan payment that's required. And that's all they take. They don't take a mortgage on the building. They'll take a mortgage on any of your physical facilities. So it is a funding avenue that's available. They do have adequate funds to undertake such a program of $1 million or $1.4 million. We don't have the exact number at the present time, but I think when all is said and done, and we start looking at the air exchanger, the air exchange system, and the improvements to the roof that need to be done, we're probably looking at a project that's in excess of $1 million. So we just don't have the kind of funds in reserve that we can just write a check and do that. So there's going to have to be some kind of funding vehicle, and it may be several different funding vehicles that does that. I know the other two items on the agenda. One of those is one that I have an interest in as well at this point. The funds that cover those two items can be funded out of your reserves, and they really won't have the fact that you're going to fund those or might fund those would not really have an impact on whether you could go out and borrow the money through some type of subsidized loan system, such as rural development or through some other program. We will present to you a final report when I get it. It has not been written up at this point, but I did want to give you a progress report on what we did find, what has been done at this point. And it's extensive. I think this roof has been a thorn in everyone's side since ribbon cutting. And I have utmost faith in the gentleman that went up there and looked at it last week. Clearly, they have a vested interest in coming up with a solution. But Sandy is, Mr. Packard is a lifelong colleague, and I have the utmost respect that what he's telling me is what's going on up there. Any questions from the board?
So it sounds like to me then we could have leaks even when it doesn't rain.
We
If
have
we're
a
doing it-
humidity problem that
Yes, if it's
happens every day.
humidification, then we could be seeing spots or leaks, when you don't even have snow,
Right.
ice, rain, whatever's going on.
The thing about the rain and the snow and the sub-zero temperature is it just made that temperature inversion in that unheated area even more protracted, so that we end up having the humid air being circulated. That cold air at the top can't carry the water, and boom, it just drops. Literally it rains. That's what it does.
Is there a fix for that?
There are air exchangers that we can add to the return air duct and route that air through there to remove that moisture from that air. They're gonna have to be pretty hefty items, because that air above that pool is pretty heated. I mean, you can, Sandy indicated there's a roof scuttle in one of the storage areas that takes you up to the roof where the AC units are on the top. He goes, you start climbing that ladder and you get about halfway up in that area, and he goes, there's a major change in the quality of the air when you get up there. I mean, it gets humid at the point where you breathe in, and it's just all water. And this was last week after the cold weather hit. He goes, it's noticeable. You get up in the area. I've been up in there. I've not gone up on the roof, but I've been up in there. I didn't notice it being, I guess I noticed there was more humidity, but I guess I didn't notice it quite like he did. But someone that's not familiar with that area and just walked in there and said, well, I think we got a humidity problem. And I think that's part of the solution.
Which is more significant, the leaks?
I think the ones that's more pronounced are the roof leaks. That happens when it rains and there's a large amount of water that comes in through a lot of those roof problems. A lot of them have been identified. Sandy identified a lot of the same ones that Garland Company identified 6 months ago. The curbs of the air conditioning units are a problem. Standing water on the built-up roof that's supposed to slope to internal drainage systems that don't. So if you got standing water there, they're just going to exploit any kind of pinhole leak they can find. And you built up, if you've got a 1/4 inch of water standing up there, and then all of a sudden it turns from a 1/4 inch to 1.5 inches because of problems, that just makes that pinhole leak be a squirt. And so that's why we have problems during the rains. There's the problems with that roof are innumerable, but the general issue of the roof is the differentiation in materials. We've got so many different materials and so many different angles that, and I use this term affectionately because I don't design, but we employ metal buildings. Metal buildings are flex. That's what makes them financially feasible, is the system, the framing system is supposed to flex in the wind, much like the wind. The problem with them flexing in the wind is that items that don't hit at 90 degrees, they tend to move. And caulk dries out, it cracks, and when they move and they open that crack up, and the water gets in. And you've just got so many different angles in that roof and that can't be changed. I mean, unless, we wiggle and change the whole roof system, which has been discussed, by the way. I should mention that, but I'm not sure that would be cost effective either.
The units that are on the roof, has that been discussed to remove those?
We have talked about that years ago. I was asked by a previous administration to look at the framing system that was put up originally to house those or to support those AC units that are on the roof. Its system was beefed up to the framing system of the metal building was beefed up in that area to support those AC units, but it's still a metal frame building, and that still moves. If I had my preference, I would take those AC units off the roof. I would move those off the roof and put ductwork up there. That would lessen the problem. So you put the weight on top of that roof, and it just makes it move even more. But I don't know that we can make that cost effectively done at this point. Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks.
Can I ask a couple things? Is that okay, or?
It's okay with me.
Probably not, on the agenda, but you should stay afterwards and let's have discussion.
Okay.
Okay. There was no motion required on that. It was just an explanation. So, Steve, I'd I'd like to go to item number 5
Okay?
and bring you back up. And let's discuss that before we move back to item number 4.
Do you all have what he printed out, the 3 options for the awning or canopy?
Yes, they should be in the packet.
Yeah, they're in here.
There's 3 different pictures.
So I'll read item number 5, discuss and possible action regarding 3 available awning canopy options for improvement to the front entrance sidewalk at the Pryor Creek Recreational Center, and possibly consider which option to pursue going forward in the bid process. Again, I present
You sure can.
Steve Powell.
This is my better half.
Well, you go ahead and sit down then.
You would be better off. We were asked by Jessica and the mayor to take a look at a problem that has been brought up, I guess, several times over the years. The fact that people being dropped off at the front door of the facility are walking in the rain until they get to the front door. And I agree that that walk can be rather long in the pouring rain. And I think it would be a very good addition to the facility to at least look at some type of covered awning over the entrance to the building. We took a look at 3 different options, soup to nuts here. Option A is from a company in Tulsa. Let me start out by saying that what you have in front of you are 3 options, not bids. These are not bids. I believe that we can, whatever the option or whatever the level of interest, if any of this board has on doing this, our recommendation would be that we take that option and we go out and we get 3 quotes. Okay? One of them would probably be from this company. 2 of them would be from other companies that have similar products. Okay? So option A is from a company in Tulsa that is what I call the standard carport design. It's functional, but it's not very aesthetic. But it is a design that keeps the water off people's heads, and it does serve the basic needs of the facility.
That's the first picture.
There is a picture.
It's the very first picture, it's really dark.
Very first picture, yeah.
And I will just point out, again, I apologize for this, one they gave us was color, but it just didn't get printed that way. It's a basic carport design. It's functional, it does remove the water, but it doesn't have a lot of architectural pizzazz, I guess would be the way I'll put it. But you have a number there for the quoted price, so this is all apples to apples comparison. We did put an item in each item for what we called engineering oversight. All 3 of these structures are pre-engineered structures themselves. We do not do the design itself, but what we've got in there for oversight, we'll be checking the shop drawings of whatever material that you would decide to choose, making sure that what they did supply is appropriate for the conditions. And then the assistance during bidding or getting quotes for the item itself. So that's an apples to apples comparison. Item A is $17,878. That's a quoted price from the builder in Tulsa. Option B is an upgrade to that facility, which is a second picture. And
Which one's B?
Yes, sir. B, right.
this one, their system is a very similar carport design. It still has the vertical nature, smaller posts that are you would expect to see. It's just an upgrade in that it has an internal drainage system. It's not a surface drainage and guttering that you see on the basic design. Things are carried in channels on the edges of the carport and then down the posts themselves and out to the ground.
And also with this company, they color match too. The
Yes.
standard builders is just the basic.
You get it like 3
So they
colors.
color match to the existing exterior.
Yeah.
They've indicated, just give us a color and we can match it based on enamel. And again, that probably goes towards more of the matching the architectural feature of the building than anything else. But I guess I'm tied up in the functionality of most anything. my nature. I do like the internal drainage system. I do like the fact that we're not dependent upon surface drainage or surface water being carried in open channels. Those are subject to bird nests. If you've ever had a carport, I've had many, and the problem we have is trying to keep the birds and the nests out of all of those type things. So this is an internal system. The third item was our attempt, my attempt, Dalton's attempt at something that reflected a little bit of the architectural nature of the building itself. The building, if you step back and look at it, has sharp lines, but they're not necessarily at 90-degree angles, as we talked about in the previous item. The colonnade wall itself is a very nice architectural feature, freestanding wall that is intersected by the accent wall, the large corrugated metal accent wall that's blue, that protrudes at an angle and kind of sets apart the front of the building as far as the way the building looks. So with that in mind, we took a look at what I call a cantilever architectural facility, which has posts on one side, angled look of the roof itself. Again, it's from a functionality standpoint, it's an internal drainage system. The water is carried to an internal channel. It's carried down the post itself and then out to the ground at select locations. The architectural nature of that, it follows the lines of the building. It's something that I think looks good, but every manufacturer, whether we get 2 quotes, 3 quotes, or 5, they're all going to look just a little bit different, probably, because they're all proprietary in what they put out there. And but this is the general concept of that idea under option C. Option C has a quoted price of $35,900. You add to it the engineering and bidding services that we would do, and you're looking at a little over, just right under $40,000 for this roof. I'm sorry, this awning system. I feel pretty confident again that once we get quotes, that number might go down slightly, but I would expect it to be somewhere between $35,000 and $40,000.
Question, is this similar to what they did at Lincoln School? Is it? Anybody seen it?
I haven't seen a Lincoln.
Yeah. It looks like it to me too. I'm just curious.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that, but I'm glad that
Yeah.
it's the nature. We've seen it in several facilities.
Looks good.
It's common. What it does is we put the posts on the opposite side from the outdoor patio seating area, so that people coming and going to that don't have to walk around the post. They don't have any problems. There's nothing to encumber their movement. We've kept the wall, the posts, and everything away from the accent wall, so that once we get the in-ground lights fixed and those lights are shining up on that accent wall, they will continue to do that. They will also, because of just the spread of the light, they'll bounce off the bottom of the awning itself and provide light underneath that area as well. So we're not proposing an extensive lighting system on any of these options for that main reason, because we have an in-ground lighting system that will provide some light in all cases. We've also got the bollard lights that are out there that are also providing some voluntary lighting as well. I want to mention one item that we would like to see, again, again, dresses it up, for lack of a better word, but it gives us something else that sort of blends this look with the existing brickwork that's out there. The brick columns, or at the columns themselves, we have proposed a option where we would go in and match the brick that we see on the building itself, the color and texture of the brick, and come up with a area.
About 4 feet or something.
What's it called?
Brick wrap.
Brick wrap. I'll call it brick thing. The brick wrap, which has a top on it, it just dresses it up. It makes the system look like it wasn't an add-on 20 years later. I think Dalton's done the cost estimate on that, and we're looking at something around an addition of around $2,400 for the columns that would be done. We have up against the front doors, that cantilever portion is kind of awkward because of the jut out of the offices, so there'll be two smaller posts that would be built vertically on both sides of the door. You won't see them, they'll be matched up against the aluminum of the framing that you see there, but they will support that cantilever section there. Those would not have brick on them, at least I don't think they were. The other posts are a little more architectural slope sections. They will have the brickwork, brick base around them. I think that's the presentation for the technical nature. As far as what the board's pleasure is regarding moving forward with this, I will answer any questions there.
Okay. Any comments, questions? So the item basically says, if we decide to move forward with this, we need to choose an option. And if we choose an option out of the three we'd like to have, then it would then move to have a bid process start.
Right,
Correct?
correct.
So I open it up to any discussion, that being, do we feel there's a need for this? And then if we do, then we need to discuss an option.
I'd like to mention one more thing.
Sure.
The mayor asked us to take a look, well, I indicated to the mayor that the entrance ramp takes you from the parking lot to the drop-off lane, that we had looked at that in past reviews, and that did not meet ADA guidelines. We checked that today, and it does meet ADA slope, so we're not including that in the cost. I just wanted you to know that we did look at that.
So it does meet,
ADA criteria.
okay.
And that's the slope coming from the parking lot down into the street level? There's no requirements for any rails, or is there?
It's not wide enough. If it were 2 feet wider, you'd have to have a rail on one side or the other, but that width doesn't require.
So there's no need for anything there?
Thank you, Steve.
So Jessica, would you like to comment on this?
So I shared it at the staff meeting, and we talked about, the different options and which one, just to get kind of their feedback, and, they felt like, which we had this discussion too, I don't remember who voted which way, but they felt like looking at the building from the parking lot, that the squared off, like option B, went better with the look of the building versus the slant would maybe look awkward at the front. So, I mean, that was the only feedback, that they don't really care as long as it's draining correctly and not holding. That was the other concern with option B, is that it would hold water being flat, but I explained to him the drainage system, and so that was just their thought, and we had talked about that in our meeting as well. If you're looking at it, what will look best, the look of the building, but we're okay with any option, honestly, except the first one. That was terrible.
I put for option C, how it's slanted, doesn't necessarily, the beams don't necessarily have to be slanted. I actually put in there maybe a recommendation to go ahead and have them complete vertical. So I thought, me personally, I thought just the cantilever beams on one side should still look better.
And they would be able to support the weight if it was flat and still have the internal drain system on that? So,
It'll have a slope to it.
but it won't be a noticeable slope.
To the internal.
So the option is still available.
And I have not seen the thing at Lincoln.
I'm with Steve,
I don't know
it
whether
looks
that's got a
good.
slope
It
or-
really does, and they've got, there's some slope to that one,
Yeah,
and it
it's
looks well.
very classy.
I mean, my position is, of course, I'm a physical conservative, what can I say? To everybody's surprise. But if I was picking one of these, I would certainly go with option C. I know it's more money, but I think if you're doing it, you've got to do something that complements the building. And I don't think the first two do it.
So let's discuss the need. Does everyone agree that there's a need for this? It's of my opinion my opinion is that I do think that there's a need, because I've seen often at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, raining like crazy, a lot of people standing at the door trying to get in, and the only protection there is the vestibule.
Right.
And there's no protection until you actually walk in. And if you're unloading an individual, maybe even if it is an ADA requirement, and we're unloading someone to go in there, then they've got protection from that weather.
Well, and you have to remember, we have wheelchair people coming in, we have Boys and Girls Club members standing outside, we have after-school programs standing outside that all have to wait to come in, and so, yeah, I know it's been a request for a long time, but.
Okay, so we can all agree that there's a need? Okay, so now we can discuss option.
I agree with C. It looks the best to me too. Posts on one side, it just keeps them out of the way. That others kind of gets in the way, especially that seating area over there and stuff. I think it looks a lot better.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we get some bids on option C.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Riff, seconded by Cantrell, to pursue bids on option C. And look at, I would say more of the, probably, just my opinion, probably more of the vertical instead of the slope, maybe, or maybe just a little slope. But I would think that we could come back and look at our options and go from there. But that, I think we established that that's the one. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, so we're gonna move back to item number 4. I don't need to read that again, do I, Mayor?
What was it anyway?
That is your discretion, Mr. Chairman.
I'm not gonna read it again, because this will be the 4th time that I've read it. In terms of my comments regarding this is I'm glad that we moved to number 6 to establish where we stand in terms of the roof. I think we all know that at some point in time, we were gonna need to work on this roof because of the leaks prior and then what was been exposed recently, but however, very surprising, but not surprising, the fact that our heat exchange system in there was, I didn't even think about that, because I've been in the locker room several times on a nice normal day and I've heard dripping. And I've often thought in my head there has to be condensation from somewhere, but it makes sense if all of that, because the minute you walk into that pool of humidity, you can just feel it. In fact, I walked through the other day to look at the leaks in the engineering room, and by the time I got out of there, I was sweating. So, but we also established that our general fund is not gonna pay for this, or our fund, or the reserves is not gonna pay for it, that we have to seek another avenue to take care of this astronomical amount of work that we're gonna have to do to this roof. And to the mayor's comments that we have reserves set aside for the other items that we've talked about here, and that apples to apples, it's not the $30,000 or $37,000 we'd spend on a sign, which I would hope generate revenue over a 10-year period and be, obviously, you have mentioned that it's important that we have that sign out there in one of our meetings, that it's important and vital to that. But to keep in mind that, the $37,000 is not, even if we chose to keep the $37,000, it's apparent that we're gonna have to seek another source to replace that roof, whether it be through the loans or a bond or grant or whatever the case may be. So it is my opinion that we don't stop on a dime because we have this thing in front of us and we just go cold turkey because, we gotta replace a roof, that we continue to move forward with the momentum that we have. Because if you recall, we had meetings a year ago to discuss what we were doing with that fund, and that we needed to start looking at finding ways to spend that, or the taxpayers would say, what are you doing with the money that and anything that we do to that rec center is an improvement. And so we have the funds to do so, including the roof. But as we know, it's gonna take more to do that roof than what we have in reserves. So that is my opinion. I'll open it up to anyone else that has.
I'm good with it. I make a motion that we approve the bid from Premier Signs and Designs, Best Interest City, to purchase the sign.
I have a motion by Cantrell.
I second.
I have a second by Ms. Gray. And I'm gonna call for the vote, and if it's an aye, it's an aye. If it's a nay, it's a nay. Okay? So, the ayes,
Aye.
Aye. The nays? Okay. We have 4 ayes and 1 nay. Okay. Let's move down to, since we've been out of order the whole time, let's get back in order. Let's move down to item number 7, discussion regarding a partnership with the Pryor Creek Golf Course to promote both the golf family member with each golf course membership purchase.
Yes, okay. So Dennis Bowman reached out to me about a partnership and took it to his board last Monday night, I believe. And they passed on their end, and so I'm bringing it to you all to get your thoughts and see if we want to pass it on this end. But the way it would work is anyone who goes out to the golf course and signs up for a membership out there, they would get a free month at the rec center for themselves and one other person in their family. So, and then anyone who comes to the rec center and signs up for a membership with us would get 2 rounds of golf and a cart at the golf course. So it's gonna work back and forth. It's about an $80 value at the golf course. For us, it's about, rates are so much cheaper, but it's about $50 value at ours. So that's kind of what we thought. It's a win-win for everybody. It's a way for us to help promote both places and work together. I've talked to the girls, and we have a plan up front as far as how to track that and how to do that in our new system, so it's not going to be an issue on our end, and Dennis and I can work out all the details. But we want to make sure both boards were in favor of moving forward with the, and we will, if passed, we will create, something similar on poster my wall, something that we can promote and market and get out there, and talk to Terry about getting it in the paper and really push this thing out and see what we can do with it. Any concerns or
Dick, do you have
questions
any
about it?
comments about that?
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I would comment on that to say I love the two-way street. I love the fact that they were working together as 2 entities within the city and working and communicating together and trying to support each other. Love that. Absolutely love that.
Excited about
So thank you guys very much for
Yeah.
working together on that.
Okay.
Just a word of caution, I'm not opposed to it, I think it's a good idea. However, the golf course 3 years ago offered a 3-year membership for $50, and they got 1,000 people. So you really need to define what membership you're gonna trade out here. You need to say it's one of their regular memberships, or define that golf membership, because you might have 1,000 people want a free month at the rec center. I mean, they didn't continue that, but that doesn't say at any time they could come up with a new idea for a new membership thing, and then, wow, rec center's gotta do 500,000 members.
Well, and I figured we would put a timeline on it as well, like it'll be for a certain amount of time for right
As long
now.
as it's tight,
Yeah,
and you don't get into that.
yeah, we just need to sit down and work out the details. So.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's appropriate maybe to open the room for discussion on this. We have one of our park board members here.
Absolutely.
And sits on the golf subcommittee.
Yep,
And,
absolutely.
sure.
No, we changed your mind. Go ahead.
That's a good point, Terry. The silver membership that he's talking about expired the end of this month. So I don't think those 1,000 people, even if they wanted to.
It could come back.
The silver,
There could be something,
yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
And that's a good point. We could always, address it at that particular time. But that silver membership is gonna go away here in just another, 30 days or less.
I'm gonna go sign up tomorrow then.
Oh, you're a silver?
Yeah, look at it.
Yeah, yeah.
Just saying.
The other kind. What other questions, or was there something else you wanted me to make a point of? or-
Well, I was particularly hoping you would address Terry's comments about the number of memberships and about leaving it open-ended. And so with the golf course, there are several kinds of memberships, and also with the rec center, there are several kinds of memberships. And the simple,
I don't have that in front of me, I don't think I do, but, we have like senior, single in a family, or, senior, single family, we have regular, like family. There's corporate, there's junior, golf. I don't know that we
I
really.
think to Terry's point, I think it's just when the decision is made, it's wise that you really look at the program and make it tight.
Uh-huh.
I don't think either board, and I think we'll probably pass this in just a minute, just my assumption, but if we do, to make sure that it's tight on both ends and that
Yeah.
it doesn't leave it open-ended to where it would, all of a sudden there's a huge
900 people
discrepancy.
that want, yeah. I think we can certainly tighten that up. I don't think that's a problem.
And again, I would think that that's
That's,
actually a management decision coming from both sides of Dennis and Jessica and with the support of the boards.
Maybe this could be offered with a regular membership and not a promotional membership.
With a regular
Yes,
membership. that we-
because I'm assuming this is for a new membership and not just because someone renewed their membership annually.
Well,
that was the intention.
Yeah.
A new,
To get new members at both places,
Yes.
right.
right.
Yeah, not
But I-
just because I renewed last week, now I get to go play golf. Kind of like the Verizon.
So if it was a
commercial.
promotional membership that you were offering and saying, here, I'm doing this, or we decided we'll do this for the next year or something to try to bring more in, then maybe that doesn't apply to, you don't get this carrot as well.
Yeah, I'll sit down with Dennis and we'll get all the details and then we'll include our board members in an email and make sure it looks okay to everybody and we can cover
Yeah,
all the bases.
I think you definitely need to talk with Dennis, because I think some of the board members, we were talking about, do we want it just offer that to like new memberships or people who renew their existing membership? So I think we need to talk to Dennis and make sure that we
Yeah, we will.
nail that down.
Okay, we'll do that.
Very good point, Terry, thank you for bringing that up. You can put that in the paper that I said that to. Okay, so, may I have a motion to, item number 7?
I'll make that motion.
I have a question, I'm sorry. It
Sure.
just says discussion, it doesn't say action, does that matter?
Actually, it doesn't really take action from this board. It's a management decision that the rec center or the golf course would choose to do. Now, to discuss it in front of the board is the appropriate thing to do, and if the board was objectionable about it, then management would say, no, it steps aside and
Just wanna
maybe
make sure
not do
we're-
so.
Okay,
So,
good catch, Kathy.
I don't know that we're in a position to make a motion on it anyway at this
No.
time.
We don't have anything really concrete.
No.
right.
Okay, very good, thank you, guys. All right, then we'll move to item number 8, Director's Report.
Okay, I'm gonna start with the repair and maintenance report, by bringing Kelly Robertson up. Kelly's done such a good job and knows the building and sees things that I don't ever see or would never catch. So I want him to just kind of fill you in on all the things that he's been doing lately.
Well, the guy never works, so not like we never seen him.
You guys look familiar. I've seen you. Is it every day?
I didn't know you stayed up this late.
Oh, I'm generally down there by 6 a.m., so I go to bed pretty early. But anyway, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I do down there, what I've done. Some of it seems pretty trivial because of all these other major things that have come up. But the water leaks you guys have talked about. I've done recently some drain repair work, wall repair work, painting, patching, things like that. Put in a new floor in the break room, which is holding pretty good, looks nice. And doing a lot of power washing with our new power washer around the pool to keep things tidy and looking really nice. And also experimenting with that outside the building as well in hopes of, as Larry talked about, cleaning the outside of the building as the weather improves. And I found it's very effective, not only that, but on the concrete out back of the building where really nobody goes very often. The concrete is taken on a black fungus coating on the top of it because it hadn't been sealed. And this power washer, it will take it right back to brand new. So it's very effective on the concrete to make it look really nice. Very effective on the building and on the railings. There's a lot of railings out back that need to be painted, but they've got a lot of mildew and fungus on them that it's really working on. So I'm slowly moving my efforts outdoors as the weather improves, and I'll be doing that. In addition to the mowing, that we talked about and you all have heard about, that I'm gonna take on and try to conquer that and keep it in-house and save us some money and see if we can pull it off and do it. And I'm always looking for more to do. This will give me more to do, and it's very welcome. Also been trimming what few trees we have on the property, trimming them up and hauling that brush off to my place where I'm gonna be burning it, so I can actually mow effectively and not be slapped in the face by sticks and branches and things like that. Kind of keeping an eye out for that. I've also done a lot of deep cleaning inside, off a 12-foot step ladder, up on the track area, on the ductwork, I-beams, stuff that nobody's paid attention to, that if you walk around and really look, you can see it. And you can't get it all, but you can get some of it, what's visible, and make a difference. So I've attacked that and cleaned the ducts and the vents and the I-beams as well. The outside lights in front of the building, I've cleaned those out and try to maintain them clean so the lights actually shine up against the building and look nice. Just things like that. I try to treat the rec center just like my home and walk through it, always looking for something that needs to be fixed, whether it be ceiling tile, vents need to be swept, floors need to be cleaned or deep cleaned, whatever. And that's really about it for now. But
Well,
I'm proud to be up here and I'm proud to work for you. And
listen,
I think you do a fantastic job.
yep,
absolutely, we appreciate you.
that's good to hear.
You're always working and always moving and always doing it. Can't stop you, even talk to you. You won't even, nope, gotta go. So, no, but seriously, Kelly,
That's
we
how it all
appreciate
gets done, and it's, you just get a little bit at a time, and eventually you're caught up, and then it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to stay.
you. Till the mowing gets here.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
He's done a great job. I will send you guys pictures in that group text of what he's talking about out back. It's amazing to see the difference in and even in the pool, he brought me out one day to show me where he had power washed. I mean, you can see the line where he stopped. I mean, it's making that much difference. So, it looks great. It's always been clean, but it's like extra sparkly. Mr. Clean. Okay. I did have a couple other things. So just a couple little things as far as repair go. The in-body is supposed to arrive tomorrow. So a lot of people have been asking about the in-body machine. It should be there tomorrow. We're gonna make sure it's up and going, and then we'll get that back open Wednesday morning. We have been really short on dumbbells, especially with the 5 a.m. class going, and so we were able to get more dumbbells finally in stock after COVID and some plates. And then we did kind of open up the building. Rural Water Ford, they were out of water for a crazy amount of days, so we were able to kind of welcome some of those people in to shower, and the way I look at it, they got to see our facility and hopefully, encouraged them to come back. But we did open up the doors for them and tried to help them out. I think that's all I have for repair.
About how many days did we spend doing that?
I would say they were out, I know at least 4, maybe 5, and a lot of them didn't come the first couple of days, but then by, day 2 or 3, we were getting phone calls, can we come in and use, and they offered to pay. If they just came in once, it wasn't a big deal. If they were gonna need to come in multiple times, we would have charged, but,
That's great
I had one
hospitality.
come in and
great.
bring 2 little kids, and they all jumped in the family shower, and, and they were out in 20 minutes, so, but yeah, just felt like it was something we could do to kind of help
Absolutely.
them out. I think you want to do the finance report, and then I'll finish up real quick.
I handed out a while ago the finance report, and it's pages 47 through 51 of our finance report. So the balance sheet on the front, we are down with our fund equity about $51,000, and that's reflected on page 51 if you turn over a few pages. And our net revenue over expenses, we've added about $51,000 to that year-to-date actual from last month. So as we are making the improvements, then we are spending some out of the reserves, and that reflects on that balance sheet. If you turn the page 48, I made some notes under that budget column. This is our revenue page, where it shows how money came into the rec center. That first item, sales tax, we're up from last month, we're up $49,900. That's the amount of sales tax that was reported in for the month. Normally, with the level of sales tax that we're receiving, we'll generate somewhere around $50,000 a month. And sometimes that, but kind of hovers right around that area. Because our operating system is brand new and we've not really caught up with the reporting that the new system is doing, and that it is trying to recover and build so that we can do the proper reporting. Some of these numbers are a little bit funky. This shows memberships, that's item 4,500 there, and it shows that up about $70, but I know it's up way more than that. The pool parties and pool rentals, it shows up from last month about $200. The merchandise sales shows up about $60 from the previous month. The guest passes shows up $479. I'm not sure how accurate that is. The memberships and accounts receivable right at the bottom there, and shows we're down $306 there, and that may mean that some of those who have been on the accounts receivable list, maybe they have paid, where perhaps they had not paid before for one reason or another. I don't know. What I'm hoping is that our new operating system will be user-friendly enough to where on this revenues page, it's able to report appropriately so that we can do a little better tracking of what our revenues are. And I think that's going to be, excuse me, that's going to be more and more important as we go forward. Jessica, did you want to comment about any of those revenue reporting?
Yeah, the only thing I would say, the issue we're having is that, we had some memberships that were coming out every month automatically through the old system. And when the old system got cut off, we're not gonna recover those monthly memberships unless they come in the door and try to check in and we notice that they're inactive. And we find out, oh, you're on auto withdrawal, okay, we need your card. So we've done that, we've gotten a lot of them reestablished, but we're going to lose some of those people who have not been back in the door since February 1st. And at some point they'll come in and hopefully, but if they haven't been in 6 months, their card was being charged anyway, and we're gonna lose that revenue. However, we do have members who have been in there who have not been getting charged, even though they were on auto withdrawal. So we are gaining that back. So I'm hoping and praying it all washes out in the end. And I know 6 months from now for sure we're gonna see, we're reestablishing our corporate accounts right now in the new software system, and they have not been charged correctly through CSI. So it will turn around. It may just take us 2 or 3 months to get the numbers where they need to be, but it'll turn around.
I like to show this board what I see each day, and when it comes to the revenue page here and the inability for the old system to report appropriately, it kind of drives me crazy.
Well, I mean, it makes sense that if they was on a reoccurring charging every month, but they hadn't been to the gym since COVID or 6 months, but they say, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and keep that membership just in case they go back. So I would see if there's, a percentage of our revenue comes from that alone, that now all of a sudden you just pulled that out, that's gonna make a difference.
That's going to make a difference.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
But it's worth it to have a new system that's.
Well, yeah, because you're cleaning it up, you're going through, you're starting over, and then you're gonna establish a new base and establish new accounts, and those people will eventually come back. If they don't, it wasn't fair that we were charging their card anyway, so.
One of the things that I look for when I do an evaluation of these numbers is, on page 49, we see the rec center expenditures. On page 50, we see the aquatics and child watch and fitness expenditures. So on that last column, the percentage column down at the bottom, for instance, on the expenditures for rec center, it shows 44.8%. And so what we have done with 67% of the year has passed, we have limited our expenses to 44.8%. So that's encouraging to me, and we see that same trend if you turn the page. The aquatics department is pretty well level, but the child watch is the percentage of budgeted that we budgeted. We're keeping those expenses under control, and on the fitness area, we're also keeping those expenses under control. So.
We'd be doing even better if the aquatics repair and maintenance was not at 125%, but that was expected for all of the
For all the
repairs
pool
that we
things that we
made to
did.
that. So
Yeah.
actually, that number, that 69.5% would have been a lot better on a normal year had we not expended all that.
So we chose to overspend that line item and felt like it was appropriate to do so, to do those repairs around the pool. So anyway, there you have that. Do you have any questions?
I'm curious.
Yes.
I know I asked too many questions.
No, that's great.
On like memberships, I mean, I guess when I'm looking at this and seeing an accounts receivable, we're an accrual accounting, not cash, correct?
I guess you could say that.
So when,
That we are.
okay, if I'm a member and my dues come due and I haven't paid you, are you recognizing that as income under memberships? And then later on, it's going down here saying, hey, here's where old Steve didn't pay us?
So that's what that CSI system did, and that's the way we tracked that. That's the way we have tracked that in the past. So I guess to answer your question, it is an accrual system. So, when we go from, these numbers, in my opinion, are squirrely.
That's what I was thinking.
They're squirrely. We're trying to move from a system that was not serving our needs. We've tried to move from and rebuild a system that is going to serve our needs, and we're in the middle of that transition.
Because typically, accounts receivable would be a balance sheet item, not an income statement.
Yeah. So, but there's not any relationship to that item to our balance sheet. There's not a relationship to that. So perhaps that's a way that we have tried to keep track of those accounts. The problem with it is that we couldn't get an answer from CSI about it, about many of the things. And so that was our frustration in trying to move forward and implement a different system. So we are kind of in the middle of transitioning through that. Did I misrepresent any of that? I don't think that I did.
So,
That's my understanding.
Jessica, do you expect this to be, obviously with the transition, you expect within a month or two, once we've got some time under our belt and we recognize, like, for instance, the corporate thing, because I'm on a corporate
Right,
thing.
right,
That we're gonna see an improvement here,
yes,
and we're gonna see factual numbers versus,
yes.
Numbers
Because even
are-
like our ACH people, like Dick Holmes wants his taken out of his bank account, so I have a voided check, but we still don't have it set up for ACH withdrawals yet, so I'm still working on that, I'm still working on corporate accounts. So yeah, once all that is in place and we're moving, we should be, but I think it's gonna take another month or so to get those people back in the door and get them set up on auto withdrawal if they were, and
Right.
just kinda catch everybody.
and will the system recognize if my payment comes due and I didn't pay it?
Yes.
It will pull it out and say, Houston Britton owes this payment, so that now becomes accounts payable, accounts receivable.
So, okay, the way it's
Showing.
gonna work, if you're on a corporate account, there's gonna be three different ways this is gonna work. If you're auto withdrawal on a card, the system's gonna automatically at 12:05 a.m. the day you're due, it's gonna pull your, like Jeremy's auto withdrawal, it's gonna pull his deal.
Okay.
If you're set up through your bank with ACH or whatever, Kim's gonna still go in on the 15th. All of them will be set up 15th to the 15th, because she has to manually go in and send that to RCB, they have to approve it, and then, we take out those. Corporate accounts, we're setting up to where she's also gonna do those. She's gonna invoice you every month, because right now the issue is people are changing and they're not communicating with us, and so every month she's gonna invoice Brown & Brown, they're gonna make sure all those employees are correct, and they're gonna send her a check, and we're gonna put it in the system. So we're gonna be tracking it three different ways, or kind of collecting money three different ways, but in the past, it's just been all over the place. So now we have a system,
So you narrow it down.
and we've narrowed it down, so you'll pay, or the fourth option is you'll just come in and pay
And
monthly.
pay a full.
There used to be a 5-day grace period. You get one pass. If you come in and you don't have your card with you, okay, you're good today, but you need to pay the next time you come in. The new key fob system is in. I'm waiting on a Zoom meeting this week so they can show me how to set it up. But when they come in, if they scan and they're not active, it's gonna beep and they've gotta pay. If they don't have it that day, they gotta pay tomorrow, or they're gonna owe us $5 for a day pass. So we're just gonna kinda tighten up on all of that and try to get it on top of it, so we have a better way to track it. So I think it'll be good. We're like not drowning anymore. We can like see land, so it's good. It's all good. Okay. And let me do aquatics real quickly. Jackie couldn't be here, she's actually working, so she wanted me to let you know the swim party total for February, she had 12 public parties and 2 private, which has picked up quite a bit. One thing I wanted to get your opinion on real fast is, I know we've been kind of reassessing COVID at every board meeting, and I feel like with numbers going down, what we would like to do, in the past, there's been 2 public pool parties for each time frame, 11 to 1, 1 to 3, 3 to 5. We want to continue to keep it just 1 pool party, but we want to increase from 25 to 40. And so that way we're still sticking to 1 party. In the past, it's been 40, but it's been 2 parties at a time. So we're still restricting it to just 1 party, but we would like to go back to max for that 1 party. And we should still stay within the 80 limit for the pool. Shouldn't be an issue, but that will allow us to bring some more people in per party. Okay. And then her swim lessons are just, she's doing great with her swim lessons. In February, she had 44 swim lessons, and so her total revenue so far with swim lessons alone is $2,860. So
let me ask you a question there. How is that revenue incorporated into a financial report?
there is a line item for
Yeah, so,
swim lessons.
swim parties and pool rentals, that's
Okay.
the line item.
Well, isn't there there's a pool party, pool rental, and then isn't there a swim lesson by itself?
Should be.
Yes.
Yeah, swimming lessons under
Yes.
guest passes.
Yes, there is.
And let me ask you this, Mayor. So in the past, we would get this report, and there was always that lag time on getting financials.
There's still lag
And there's
time.
still lag time. So if we're technically looking at this report, we're looking at a snapshot
That's
of
correct.
kind of where we're at right now, but not actual numbers, which could speak to the squirrely numbers that we're seeing in front of us. But at the end of the year, I mean, at some point in time, we're gonna have a financial, I mean, especially before the budget, we're gonna know exactly where we landed on all of this stuff and exactly where we're at. But at the request of the board, we ask to see the financials regularly, which we appreciate, and thank you very much. But to everybody, I just want everybody to understand this is simply a snapshot.
Thank you for that, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yes, it is a snapshot, and it is not up to date. Some of these numbers actually are up to date, and then there are some of them that are not.
Okay.
And it's a confusing report to look at. The expenditure reports are up to date. The expenditure reports are up to date.
Yeah, because that's the outgoing money, so that's accounted for immediately. Okay, I got you.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. We've already talked about the power washing. The other thing, Thunderbird, just wanna let you know, we opened up the pool to them last week for the afternoon. They have not been out they have not left the grounds since this new session started. So these poor kids needed to get out, and they're being very COVID cautious. So we just let a lap swimmer in the one lap lane and kept the rest of the pool for them, and brought them in the back door. And so we were real cautious for them. But they had a blast. So they were able to come swim for a couple hours and get out of the, the building and hopefully still be safe. And so we were happy to partner with them on that. And we'll probably set something up again after spring break. And then just quickly through the miscellaneous report, we had 51 new members in February. Those are not people that we reactivated or that were due on the 15th. They were brand new. Also, two other things. We are kicking off our new challenge this month is going to be, instead of March Madness, it's March in Madness. So people can sign up and track their steps. They'll be set up in a bracket comparable to a March Madness bracket, where depending on how many steps you get each day, you'll send them into Chelsea and you'll advance if you have more steps in the.
Can I go ahead and turn mine in?
You're up against. And so that'll go through the end of the March Madness, which I believe is April 5th. And then we'll have a grand prize. We're not exactly sure yet, but everyone gets a t-shirt. And so we're just hoping to have some fun and make a little money. It's $15 an entry. So hopefully that generates a little bit of revenue, and we'll kick that off tomorrow. We'll advertise it. And then the other thing we have going on this month is we wanted to kind of plan the spring break week around our kids and make sure that we have something for kiddos to do that aren't going anywhere. So we have something every day, Monday through Sunday. And we're going to start Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're going to extend the swim time, family swim times. So I believe it's like noon to 5 on Monday, and then Wednesday's going to be like noon to 7, and Friday's noon to 7, I believe. We'll have a poster that we'll put out for that. But then one thing we are going to do different is we're going to offer a Kids Fit, not a Fit Kids, Kids Fit class that I'm going to actually do on Tuesday, Thursday morning. So their parents have to be a member, but if they come, they pay $5, and I'll have them for an hour. We'll work out, we'll play a game, we'll talk about health and nutrition. I'm going to try to partner with the Hope Coalition and see if we can get some fruits and vegetables for them to try, and just sort of give them something to do, let their parents work out, and then also keep them active and moving. So, and then again, try to generate a little bit of revenue through that. So I think that's it. Do you all have any other questions about anything going on?
Yeah, you guys are doing a good job. I see
Thank
y'all
you.
working your
Yes.
tails, and
Thank
a lot of
you.
compliments coming in from it.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys being here and staying late. I didn't mean for it to go that
I was
late.
going to say, we appreciate the long meetings, and
I told Jeremy, 30, 45 minutes.
we appreciate no, seriously, we appreciate the creativity, the out of the box, working with the golf course, and the, cohesiveness and working together as a team. I think that's important. And in any organization to succeed, you've got to have a good team supporting each other. And so
We have a great team.
I personally am very pleased with all of you, Kelly. I mean, the whole works.
Thanks for opening up on the snow days.
Oh,
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
you're welcome.
That's good.
I love when the other department heads text me, "Are you open? Are you kidding? Yes. Are you home? You need to come in." So, I forgot we have number 9 real quick.
Yeah, actually, okay, so any other questions on the director's report? Everybody cool? Okay, so we'll move to item number 9, unforeseeable business.
So there was an unforeseeable item that came in today, and the National Fitness Campaign is something that started in our country in 1979. In 1979, the government gave incentive for towns, communities, and whatnot to get on the fitness bandwagon. One of the things that they have done over time is to encourage towns to implement a particular fitness program. They offer a grant. To participate. It's a matching grant. So there are 2 towns in Oklahoma right now who are participating. One is Oklahoma City, and the other is Okmulgee. Isn't that correct? So we have an opportunity in Pryor. Jessica attended a Zoom meeting on Friday and presented the opportunity this morning. Actually, I read the email didn't even read it until about 3:30 this afternoon, so apologize about that. So what I've done, as an item of unforeseeable business, I've created a motion, and I'll send that to you, Kathy, so you can do the minutes. But the motion is discuss and possible action regarding a request to send to Budget Personnel Committee to consider an expenditure of in the form of a $30,000 matching grant for the National Fitness Campaign to build a fitness court to be placed on the west side of the rec center. So that would be the motion, and I can repeat that if you'd like for me to repeat it. That would be the motion. We want to perhaps consider, if this board will consider, sending that opportunity to Budget Personnel Committee, and then what we would do is we would have that consideration then of having that $30,000 expenditure, would probably do that in the next budget year. So the total amount of the expenditure is $110,000. And so the government, whatever agency that is, the National Fitness Campaign, would kick in $30,000. We would kick in $30,000, and then we would have the opportunity to try to engage the rest of that $110,000 from corporate sponsors, from whoever. So that might be Mid-American Industrial Park, it might be Google, it might be GRDA, whoever it might be Cherokee Nation. But we would have that responsibility then to raise the rest of that money to go ahead and put in this fitness court. Jessica, could you describe the fitness court?
So what this is it's a really neat, and I'll send you the link so you all can look at it later, but it's a really neat, it's an interactive type thing where there's 7 different stations that you can utilize, but everyone that goes will have an app, a fitness court app, so you'll be able to get on there, it will have the workouts for you already, and then you can get on and log your workouts, you can see how you rank with other people in other cities doing the same workouts, and you can put in what kind of workouts you want. But the really cool thing about it is they have a certification program to teach classes for this specific fitness court. And so what I would love to see happen is a couple of our staff members get certified in this to be able to go out there and teach classes, use it as a way to do free community classes, or free classes for the community, but also let people like the Boys and Girls Club use it, Pryor School After School Program, Thunderbird. It's just a really neat, it's present at a lot of colleges and different places like that, so it needs to be in a place where different parts of town can access it, and all ages can use it. It's really cool, it's really neat, and I feel like we could maintain it well at the rec center. It's a neat, modern looking fitness court. It'll have a lot of signage. I don't foresee any problems getting sponsorships. I think it'll be, once people understand it and see it, and the fact that we would be one of 3 in the state is super exciting, and I think it would be used a lot.
One of the components is that it be free.
Yes, for sure. So this would not be included
It would not, yeah.
in our planning design out back, because that's all fenced in and that's different. But it could still be, we were thinking on the west side of the building, just to the west of the Child Watch Playground, where there wouldn't be any expansion later on. That would all be north of that, because it's only 38 by 38, so it's not huge. But it would be visible from the parking lot. There would be a lot of parking on that west end for people to use it. And again, there's some lighting out there, and we could keep an eye out on it and maintain
It'd
it.
be something that you didn't necessarily have to be a rec center member.
You don't have to be a member. You
Something
don't
you
even have to
go-
do it as a class. You could do it as on your own. You can take your kids and do it. But there's pull-up bars, there's rings, there's stuff
Is it
for
an
apps.
outside facility or an
It's
inside?
outside.
Okay.
It looks to me like almost a concrete around There's stuff that you can do, agility, burpees, lunges, and
So there wouldn't necessarily be a rec center person maintaining it or watching over it, it would unless they taught the class.
right.
It'd just almost be like a park type thing.
It would, but we could keep an eye on it.
What about liability, because it's on our property?
Would it be the same as the park, or?
Yeah, it's city property, so it's covered, so the liability is covered there because it's a city property. So, so Houston and Jessica and I met at 5 o'clock, and we talked about this, and we said, well, where might be a good place for it to be? So that it could be utilized with some of the classes, with the rec center, some of the different classes, and also partnering with the school system is a possibility there, and it's free. So placement there on that where that lawn is now is close proximity to the parking lot. We also have the ability to create lighting for it. We have the ability to put up surveillance camera to be able to
Yeah.
to supervise it.
Exactly.
Going forward, it would have whatever maintenance that there would be going forward would be maintenance that would be either part of the rec budget or part of the parks budget, one of the two. I mean, we'd have to kind of figure out how we're gonna do that. So,
Yeah, and putting it in that location, again, gives us an opportunity to really keep an eye on it. To your point, not necessarily that we gotta have someone out there to watch it, but let's just say hypothetically, we put it somewhere else in town, there might be not visible all the time to where it could have, the opportunity to be vandalized or whatever the case may be. So, and then also making it part of it is fitness after all, but it is an opportunity to drive, not only that, but to drive more people to want to do that, maybe drive them in our doors, become a member, and then we add what we're looking at doing in the back. It just now becomes kind of a destination per se.
Yeah,
So
kind of,
there's lots of opportunities.
kind of a fitness destination.
Yeah.
That, if we could describe it that way. So the $30,000 would not come out of the rec center budget, it would come out of the general fund. So, we send that, what I wanted, because we're proposing that this would be planted on the rec center property. But it's not part of the rec center budget. It would be part of the general fund budget as it would comply with the National Fitness Campaign. So it could come out of the rec center budget, but let's let budget personnel decide, maybe decide how we do that. You got a question?
Could you see it on my face?
Yeah, I did.
What I was curious about was, I know in the past, we've talked some about maybe the possibility down the road or whatever of expanding the rec center or needing to. And it seemed like a lot of the discussion was the building would go out to the west. So that's why I was curious when you were talking about maybe putting this there. If this was something that someone's decided either, well, we're not gonna expand the building, or if we do, we're going another direction and we're not going west.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was curious if maybe someone might think, okay, if you were going that way, you might wanna put this
Well,
someplace
it's
where you
fa-
don't spend $110,000 and we gotta move it.
The area that's outside of the Child Watch is far enough south, away from the expansion that we would do in the future going to the west. It's only a 38 by 38.
Okay,
So, and so you pull it up behind the Child Watch, and it pulls it up enough where, does two things. Number one, it puts it out of the way of future expansion, going to the west, because that's exactly what I said in our meeting today, is exactly what you just said. But the also thing it does is it provides visibility for those that come around, it provides parking, which is close, the lighting is better there. So it actually puts it out front and center, but doesn't take away from what we wanna do in the future.
okay.
Yeah.
It's almost like a wasted space right there between the like playground area outside of Child Watch and the road.
Yeah.
So I don't
There's
see
just
us
a-
doing
it's
an
just-
L type of expansion, so it won't go past that outdoor fence, is what I'm saying, the Child Watch. So it'll leave that whole lot to expand.
And then one thought I had earlier was that, hey, well, we can put it back here in the back with everything else. We're looking at doing stuff in the back, but Jessica brings up a very good point. That's gonna be fenced off, and that's not gonna be a public area at all times, so we would be doing ourselves a disservice by putting it's a revenue generating area, so.
Yeah. So,
So, yeah, we were thinking just on.
please ask questions.
Just curious.
Because, we threw this at you, at the last minute.
So really, the motion,
All we're doing is asking you to consider sending it to budget personnel and letting them consider, how the money where the money might come from. And it looks like a good opportunity for us.
Great.
so the motion is basically, because we're considering putting it, or want to have the opportunity to put it on the facility that is, per se, kind of governed by this board, that we approve, basically, we're approving that, we're okay with it going there, but we're not approving that it's gonna come out of the rec budget. We're just sending it to the budget committee to decide where that money would come from, but it gets the process started. And just so that everyone knows, now, there's gonna be, we gotta go after the grant, and there's a time limit on the grant to go get the $30,000. We can match the $30,000, and then via the conversation that we had earlier, there's lots of opportunity for partnerships. Whether, like you said, it's Google, the industrial park, or the school system, or whatever the case may be, or corporate sponsorships, to come up with the rest of the money to do that.
And the urgency today is that there's a deadline at the end of March, so this board would ask budget personnel to consider it. Budget personnel then perhaps would send it on to city council, so city council meeting in 2 weeks, then would consider it, and then there would be a clear path to apply for the grant.
And there may be some other opportunities from additional grants as well, from what I understand from Jessica as well, additional grants.
Wheels are turning.
So,
Are there any other questions?
so we need to make a motion and second and approve it. So may I have a motion?
Would you like me to read that again?
Yes, one more time, please.
Discussion and possible action, sending a request to budget personnel committee to consider an expenditure of $30,000, to consider an expenditure regarding a $30,000 matching grant for a National Fitness Campaign fitness court to be placed west side of the rec center.
So moved.
Motion made by Riff. Seconded made by Holmes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's move to item number 10, adjourn. May I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Holmes,
Second.
seconded by Cantrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote no.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you to the board for your
I will stay
service and
longer.
for being here and helping us.
I want to stay longer. I can't adjourn.
This meeting is adjourned.
I need to quit asking questions. It makes it drag out too long.
Well, the roof is a big concern.
Oh, shit, it did.
It's a lot of money.
No, I would like to get together with you sometime, and just if not anything, to show you. Sometimes if you're over around the lake or
Fair.
something,
In that time of year now, we're back in there. Yeah, just holler at
let
me.
me know, or something, you shout, maybe if I'm up there, like on some Saturday or Sunday, I might see if I can get you to meet me, and I can show you, here's where it is, here's kind of what I'm talking about.
Let me turn this off.
I can fit something in, if I had to, I think I could probably get it to 50 feet.